So I went to the barber. I was feeling a little bit patriotic. I decided to get my hair cut really short, and may have been a mistake. We'll see. But I was feeling patriotic because I had the opportunity to talk to Tyler Brennan. And Tyler, in case you don't know this, just invested in Rotor Riot. But he also is a first lieutenant in the United States Air Force. And he is also probably way more cool than I am because he is a fighter pilot, F-15E Strike Eagle to be exact. So I talked to Tyler recently, and we talked about a lot of things. We talked about what it was like to be 25 years old and truly determined and driven to accomplish so many goals so young. We talked about where did all this come from? Because he owns RDQ. He's a successful FPV pilot. He's in the Air Force. He's a fighter pilot to boot, which is even harder to get into than just getting into the Air Force Academy. And he's getting married soon. I mean, the guy is 25 and has accomplished more in that time than I certainly did when I was his age. And it's a very impressive resume. But today, in today's episode, what we actually talk about are some of the details of the Rotor Riot investment that he took. And specifically, he doesn't answer how much, but he answers a lot of details that a lot of people will find very interesting. This one's more businessy, as my entire interview with Tyler was actually very businessy because I think the guy has just a mind for business. But I hope you enjoy it, and see you on the other side. 2 questions, both of which you can feel free to defer, not answer, say that you'll talk to your PR people and get back to me on. Are you at liberty to disclose the amount that you paid for half of the company? And actually, there's 3. Did you in fact purchase 50%? And was it an all-cash deal?
Ooh. Okay. So, all right. Yes, I can say all those things. I have to think about, would it be smart for me to put a number out
Understood.
there?
And if you want, we can pause. If you want to take a few minutes to think, feel free. And I'll put the question in, and you don't have to answer, and we'll cut this little bit out, right? Yeah. So, feel free to take a moment.
How about this? I'm not going to drop a number because the unfortunate fact of the matter is that people are going to associate that number with something that is not realistic, or they're going to hold it against Rotor Riot. So how about this? I'll say what the money I brought in, what it allowed us to do, and technically speaking, no, it's not an all-cash deal. Okay. So here's essentially what happened. Chad needed a check, a 6-figure check, to break away from his previous agreement with Lauren. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact that he was looking at all avenues to how can he make that happen, including personally extending himself to a crazy amount just because he's so dedicated. So, okay, day one, I provide that 6-figure check to Chad, and I basically break Rotor Riot away from its previous locked-in agreement. So that's what happened day one. From there, I added some more cash to satisfy some of primarily dealer accounts payable. So where Rotor Riot needed some money to pay for product that it had already received and sold. And, anyone watching that'll never happen again with Rotor Riot. But essentially, whatever, they're making good on it. And so that's what I'm providing as of today. Now, basically, I'm going to provide enough cash to completely satisfy all of Rotor Riot's debt, which is, all right, you guys can end up doing the math here. Let's say it's around $500,000 ish.
Mm-hmm.
Ish.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that is not all going to be instantaneous, right? There's some stuff that are loans, and I'm not a bank. So, and nor did I anticipate this happening. So it's not like I was saving up for it. I'm basically able to do this with just slush that I would normally reserve for making products or something like that. So basically, yeah, I'm going to break Rotor Riot away from its previous obligations. I'm going to get it out of its debt. I'm going to pay Chad cash, because remember, I still have to. I mean, he's still giving me 50% of his company, so I'm going to pay him for that, and then I'm going to give Rotor Riot assets in the form of inventory, and so with all of that combined, none of it happens overnight. Some of it did happen overnight, right? Just so we could get going. But I'm not a bank, so all of this is. I mean, I have a few years to ultimately generate the amount we agreed to, and essentially what that means is I am able to let what I do best pay for itself, because I can take Rotor Riot, take it from something that is losing money to something that's making money. Mm-hmm. Not by myself, but in total, right? Mm-hmm. And able to take some of those profits that it is generating to pay for the deal. So not all cash, some cash, a lot of inventory. Mm-hmm. The basis, the whole scope of this, the whole idea of the deal is to take Rotor Riot, which is financially struggling as of a month ago, and in 3-4 years, put it in a position where it is profitable, it can stand on its own, and it is going to continue doing amazing things for the FPV community. To do that, it needs to be out of debt. It needs to have inventory. It needs to have good cash. And all of those things are basically the deal.
So that was a good answer. I know you're 25 because you told me that at the beginning. I don't often see the determination and savvy that I see in you in a 25-year-old. I probably don't even have it, and I'm 41. But why do you see a struggling company like Rotor Riot, and why are you willing to put so much on the line, maybe including and maybe not including the future of RDQ, to salvage a company that is basically dying? Like what was the driving force behind that?
That's a good question. To give you an idea of the driving force, in the contract, in the event that under some circumstance I cannot produce what we agreed upon, mm-hmm. I will give Chad some of RDQ to make up the amount.
Okay.
So I put my money where my mouth is, and that's typically how I roll. So why did I look at Rotor Riot and say, okay, this is something that I can change? I think the simple answer, well, there's probably a few answers here. First is I feel like I did more with less.
Okay.
2.5 years ago, I was running this out of my dining room in my apartment. and now it's huge. I didn't have any of the talents that Rotor Riot has. I didn't know what I knew now. If I knew what I knew now back in 2016, I mean, it would be a totally different game for RDQ today. And there's a huge learning curve, both professionally and personally. So essentially, I've always thought of why I care about Rotor Riot so much is because I think it is not actually a bet on Rotor Riot. I think it's a bet on FPV.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'm looking at it. If FPV dies, Rotor Riot dies. RDQ dies. If FPV does well, Rotor Riot should be there being a key player to help that along. FPV does well, RDQ does well. So, yes, the company struggled. But as Chad said in his interview, I offered many times to honestly help. And I wanted to get in. But I mean, at day one, I wasn't saying, "Hey, I want 50%." So I wanted to help because I could see some of the mistakes that were happening. And there's a lot behind the scenes where I'm so nitpicky. I mean, I know I drive my team crazy, but I'm so nitpicky because you have to be. And I could just kind of see some of their inner workings and say, if you just changed this one little thing, which I can do, you guys would not be in the position you are. And a lot of that was not in their control. So much of that had to do with their previous business engagement.
Yep.
So,
which in case anybody missed the Capper interview and has not paid as much attention to the industry since 2016, that was with Lorne, who also owns Flight Test.
Right. Yeah. And I think the third part of that is I'm young, and at the end of the day, I don't have any loans. I don't have any financial commitments. If I lost it all tomorrow, I'm 25. So why not? So that's basically all things I looked at, considered, should I do it? Should I not do it? And I'll be totally honest with you. I lost sleep over thinking about how are we going to change the ship around. Even though I see the problems, just the fact the problems are there are something that I've never dealt with. Because I've never been unfortunate enough to be in that position. I think anyone that's in business long enough will be in that position eventually. So hopefully when I'm there, I'll be able to deal with it better because of this experience. But yeah, I lost sleep over thinking about how are we going to do this, even though to me, I think the answers are already present to myself. There's no denying that I'm a perfectionist, and I view every hobbyist as a customer and every customer as a friend. And Rotor Riot just draws more attention than RDQ ever has or ever will. And the amount of backlash that they get for doing literally anything is something that I personally have to figure out how to deal with, because everyone that comments, I can't believe Rotor Riot did that, I'll never watch or buy from Rotor Riot again, that is someone who, if they were commenting on RDQ, I would call personally and fix. And there's just it's just impossible to do with Rotor Riot. And when you get something like Rotor Riot, any brand that follows that kind of structure is going to run into that issue. I mean, Rotor Riot could just remove itself from Facebook and remove itself from the breathing part of the community. Just make YouTube videos and honestly probably be very, very close financially to where it would be if it didn't ask people what they thought or didn't look for feedback. And that's just the reality of it. So I got to learn how to deal with it. You know, that's the biggest amount of hesitation or worry that I've had, and it's I just kind of got to shift my mindset. My mindset isn't going to change for RDQ, but my mindset has to change for Rotor Riot, or I'll never sleep. So
being in the center of drama or being in the center of the eye is tough. So there you have it. That is Mr. Brennan's take on the Rotor Riot investment. I truly enjoyed that particular portion of our little chat. And there's more to come. We're going to talk about Tyler's origin story, and we're going to talk about kind of what it's like to be 25 and involved in so many things. But anyways, you should look for those in a few days. And my name is Mike. Like, subscribe, comment, do all those good things, and I'll see you later. Bye.